So we recently saw a seismic event, we'll call it, in the race for Oklahoma governor. President Donald Trump entered the arena and put his considerable political weight behind Mike Mazzei. The former state senator had just narrowly topped a poll showing him edging ahead of three other candidates. The question is today, how does the Trump endorsement change these final 2 weeks of the campaign? We have got a great pair of panelists to help us analyze where we are at today, starting with this man, the former chairman of the state Republican Party, an active political consultant and the host of The Ride with Chad Alexander on KOKC Radio. Chad Alexander, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And also back with us, Rose State political science professor and the director of the Center for Civic Engagement, James Davenport. James, nice to have you here.
My pleasure.
Thanks for being back. Let's start with the big headline, the big, I don't know if it was a game changer by your means, but we certainly took notice, and I know a lot of people did. Donald Trump stepping in, endorsing Mike Mazzei in this race. What does this do, first of all, to Mazzei's chances just to make the August runoff? James, how do you see it?
I think it definitely bolsters them. I think we're starting to see that in some of the polling that's come out since that point in time. We know in a Republican primary voters still have a high regard for President Trump, and so it's going to carry some weight with them. The question will be, and Chad will probably be able to answer this, to what extent does it move voters, and where do those voters come from, right? Are these primarily undecideds that they've heard President Trump and now they're moving, or is he moving candidates from other candidates, voters from other candidates to Mazzei's campaign? Right,
because I guess one way to look at it, I mean, everybody knows this is a very good thing for Mike Mazzei to get this endorsement here, Chad. I started looking at it, who was this really bad for? Who could this poll, because we saw these polls, they've been tight up at the top. Sure. Who is this really bad news for?
I think it's really hurt Chip Keating and Charles McCall the most. There's a recent poll out of Louisiana. It's been taken by reputable pollsters since this happened, June 2nd, June 3rd.
Since the endorsement?
Yes, June 2nd, June 3rd, for the 550 sample, showing Mazzei at 24, Drummond at 20, but showing Jake Merrick at 12, and Chip Keating and McCall both around the 10% range. And so you can see that bump for Mike Mazzei mainly taking away from some of the McCall and Chip Keating support, but you still have a 25% undecided out there. And I think what's unique about this governor's race, you have four candidates that have had millions of dollars of negative ads spent against them, and that really muddies the waters sometimes. And negative ads historically sometimes suppress the vote a little bit. And we already don't have a great turnout in Oklahoma. Usually a primary is around 25%. So I don't know how many of those 25% undecided are going to vote. So I think it bolsters him very much to make a runoff. And today, the most likely outcome would be a runoff between Mike Mazzei and Gaynor Drummond.
As we stand right here. And I want to talk about the negative political ads and what we've seen, but let's just go a little bit deeper on this. The fact that you didn't mention A.G. Drummond's name as being one of the ones being hurt right there, and the fact in the poll that you just gave, very similar numbers to what we saw in the non-doc poll that came out about a week prior to that. Why wouldn't the Attorney General be hurt as bad by this?
Well, I think being the front runner the whole time, he's had more negative ads ran against him. Millions of negative ads have been run against him. I think Club for Growth alone was about a $4.3 million buy. So I think about all the people you're going to take out of Drummond were probably, those people are probably still locked in on Drummond with all the negatives they've seen on him, which probably is why that you didn't see a real big movement from the Drummond supporters.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. I think the Drummond support is pretty firm, pretty fixed. You're not going to see a lot of movement away from him of Republican voters that are looking at the field and have decided this is the person that I'm going to vote for. I just don't think it's going to impact them as much as it will have McCall and the others. And I think the debate performance also, right? So the debate that they had, I thought that Drummond probably came out a little bit on top out of that, just performance-wise. And I didn't think the others did quite as well. And so I think that helped him. I think the commitment of his voters to him helped him. And so I totally agree that I think what you're looking at right now is a Mazzei Drummond runoff.
Does Drummond also appeal perhaps sometimes to a different kind of Republican primary voter?
I think so.
Or do you think they're all kind of going after the same people?
I think so, but he has a base. I mean, don't forget Drummond ran in 2018 for Attorney General, lost a runoff by 283 votes out of 300,000, I believe.
Right.
And then in 2022, he beat an incumbent
Right.
that had an active governor campaigning against him. So he's shown he can be a pretty strong candidate and have a really firm base.
And the fact that this is a race where we're looking at, we've talked about this before, but Chad, the fact that the Attorney General is the acting Attorney General. Everybody else that he's running against in this race, they are, they had big job titles, many of them, but it's all former.
Right.
And he's in the news every single day. Trust me, we're getting the news releases emailed to us. Hey, why don't you come out and cover us on this issue, on that issue, on this issue, which, he's doing a job right now, and sometimes he gets a little extra coverage because of that. That has to be an advantage for him, right?
I mean, you had the Swadley conviction last week. Well, that's obviously going to be covered.
Right.
We had the charges announced today in Tulsa. That's obviously going to be covered.
What did we think about the criticism after this endorsement from Trump that went at the Mazzei campaign about his ties, the fact that he's paying Roger Stone, a giant Trump, obviously advocate, supporter, friend, whatever you want to call him, to be, he's paying him as a consultant. Roger Stone is a political consultant and he's using him. Is there anything there? Because while Stone did early on take a lot of credit for the endorsement, he's since kind of backed off and been like, yes, I'm helping him, but it's not like that. I'm not greasing the rails for him. Is this just political noise or is this something?
I'm going to defer to Chad on this because he probably knows a little bit more on that.
I think there may be some merits to some of the criticisms of it, but at the end of the day, it's going to be political noise. You get into a runoff, you've got 2 months. You're going to have debates. They're going to be on primetime TV, not streamed, where you're going to be on broadcast with 2 guys standing on a stage for an hour. And then you have to remember, you have groups in Oklahoma, whether it be the Farm Bureau, the cattlemen. You have different interest groups across this state. Who do they rally around out of the 2? What is their pick around those guys? And we'll see how that coalition goes. Who do the other candidates go with if they don't make the runoff? Who do they support and try to lend their support to? And so it's certainly beneficial, and you would want the Trump endorsement. I think he's good for probably 10 to 15 points. But he's not going to get you to 50. If anybody's spiking the ball going, this race is over, they don't understand politics, especially politics in Oklahoma.
We've certainly seen the importance and power of a Trump endorsement in a primary election on the Republican side. We saw it down there in Texas recently, obviously, in the race for senator with John Cornyn losing in frankly a landslide is what we saw down there. The president going, with Kid Paxton in that race. We'll see what happens with that. But we did just I saw a gubernatorial candidate in Iowa that the president had come out in support of, did lose here. Now, they don't have to go to a runoff situation there, and he lost by 0.8% of the vote, but maybe a slight chink in the armor there from the president, because the president seemed to have been like batting 1,000, I think, this cycle.
We do know broadly, right, that the president's approval numbers are declining, and they're declining even a little bit among Republican voters.
Sure.
However, again, we're talking about Republican primary voters in Oklahoma, and I think he's still very strong with that group of voters. I think it will carry weight with those voters. I just think it will. And so when it comes out, now again, Chad is right. I mean, you still have at least 25% undecideds. How are they going to break? They might break. Some of them might, Chad, we were talking about that earlier. Many might show up
because of all the negative ads. Muddying the water.
So let's talk about these negative ads. People say we hate them. And yet every single cycle, what do we see? We see these types of negative ads. And now we're in the age of AI. So now we've added this new element where we have candidates hugging Hillary Clinton. Where we have, what I mean? I mean, we have so much stuff. Why do we still see ads when people tell us they don't want to see them?
Chad and I have had this conversation multiple times, and it comes down to one basic fact. They work, right? They work. They will do their job in the sense that they will reduce support for the candidate being attacked, right?
It's not about building
It's not necessarily
support
about building
for
my voter base. It's about reducing the voter base of the other candidates. And as long as they're successful, they're going to still run them. And so if voters don't really like them, they need to vote differently. They need to send a signal to campaigns that we're going to vote differently.
Well, then we're going to have to vote for somebody who's not running ads.
And that's why I said it's rare Usually you don't get to a negative ad until a runoff. Usually you get it down to 2. It's rare that we've never seen this in Oklahoma before where you had 4 people having millions of dollars of negative ads being ran against them. But to address your question, I've been answering this question for 30 years and the answer stays the same. As soon as you quit changing your mind on who you're going to vote for, we'll quit running them. I have a fiduciary responsibility to my client to give them the advice to try to help them accomplish their goals and win their elections. And I can tell you, you can move numbers much faster with negative ads than you can with positive ads. And if they didn't work, we wouldn't do them. People say they hate negative ads. If you want to see them go away, quit changing your mind on who you're going to vote for from them.
Are there going to be, go ahead, James.
No, I'm going to say, and I actually like negative ads. I know people are like, you must be crazy.
You wild man.
I like negative ads because I think they give me more information than the positive ads do. And they give me information not just about the candidate that the negative ad is being run against, but about the candidate running them and what do they think is important, what kind of criticisms are they leveling, are they exaggerating a claim, beyond what it really is, or are they hitting on something that voters are really going to think is important?
Right.
So you can learn a lot from these negative ads if you pay attention, right? And so I find them oftentimes more informative in totality than some of the more positive ads.
All right, so, and we got about 90 seconds left, and in this primary now, we're getting very close to the day. So I don't know if any more new ad buys are going out there, if there's any new messaging, but if you're one of these candidates, Chad, who are you targeting? If you're in the McCall campaign, as you're saying, or the Keating campaign, do you go after Mazzei? Do you go after the AG? I mean, because they just got to get into the top 2. So what's the strategy?
What would I do? I would go after the person that pulled votes for me because I'm getting people back that moved away from me. And if my voters moved to Mazzei, I'm going to try to get my voters back from Mazzei.
Okay, all right.
Here's the question I have, Chad, is so we saw Mazzei kind of switch a position on this aluminum smelter up in the northeast part of the state. Prior to the endorsement, he was opposed to it. And then post-endorsement, he switches and says he's for it. Do you think some candidates will try in this last week to emphasize that, kind of a trust
because
factor?
The AG's taken the opposite position on this issue as well.
I absolutely think so because I think it was the day before the endorsement is when he switched his position, and those of us paying close attention took much note of that.
Okay.
That's very interesting. Well, again, we're coming down to it here, and we really appreciate both of you gentlemen for being here and helping us out, break this down. Chad Alexander, James Davenport, thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
Both of you, please come back, all right?
Absolutely.
Because as we talked about, we still have, after this, then we got the runoff, then we got November. We got plenty of things to talk about.